Pakistan's offer to return a captured Indian pilot is expected to come to pass shortly, in fact, in what's being billed as a peace gesture. An Indian Air Force team has arrived at a border crossing to receive the wing commander, and it comes after days of rising tensions involving the territory of Kashmir, which both nations claim as their own. Well, Pakistan shot down the pilot's jet on Wednesday. That followed airstrikes carried out over India, and that came after India had launched a series of airstrikes against a militant training camp in Pakistan, blaming the group for carrying out an attack in Indian-administered Kashmir, which killed more than 40 people. Pakistan's foreign minister says the pilot will be handed over to Indian officials at the Wagah border, shown as we can see here. The crossing is close to Pakistan's eastern city, Lahore. There does appear to be a certain level of excitement now on the Indian side, a large media presence as well, waiting for the pilot's return. Well, Sangeeta Maisker is in Delhi for us, and amongst those waiting, the pilot's parents as well, Sangeeta. It does rather point to something is going to happen, more than just hope. There's real expectation.
Yeah, in the last hour we've just had the Pakistani side reconfirming that that handover will happen at Wagah at some point this afternoon. So yeah, crowds assembling there. My colleagues are there from the BBC. They're saying that there is, as you say, a great deal of excitement building amongst local people who have turned out with flags, some of them with their faces painted with the Indian flag, lots of sort of cheering. And actually, David, what's very interesting is how this is playing out and the perception of what is happening in both Pakistan and in India. So the announcement that the pilot would be handed back to India happened yesterday when Pakistan's...
We seem to have run into a problem there with Sangeeta. Sorry about that. But as she was pointing out, Imran Khan, the Pakistani Prime Minister, taking that decision to release the pilot, that was yesterday. There had been a thought that Pakistan might hold on to him for a while, but they've billed it as a peace gesture. We understand it could happen as soon as about an hour from now, although it's not quite clear what the timing will be. We may just have another go at talking to Sangeeta again, because I think the line is, we've got you back, Sangeeta, I hope. Sorry, we lost you in the middle of you're in full flow. But let's just focus on that point, if you like, about Imran Khan taking the high ground. I think that's how a lot of people would see it.
Yeah, very much. So he was making a statement to his parliament yesterday, and at the beginning of that address he was talking about how much help the Pakistanis had been offering India in cracking down on militants who were attempting to destabilise Indian authority in Indian-administered Kashmir. And what we then saw at that point was him walking out and then walking back in to the Parliament, sitting down and saying, oh, by the way, I forgot, we'll be releasing that Indian pilot tomorrow. It's an indication, really, I think, of how Pakistan feels very comfortable in this situation as far as they are concerned. They have been holding the cards over the last 48 hours. They're now presenting themselves as a country that's demonstrating largesse. They could, of course, have held on to this pilot for at least another 48 hours without feeling really the need immediately to hand him back. But that didn't happen. That is happening today. The Indians, on the other hand, also painting this as a huge success. Yesterday, we had a press conference from the military, Air Force and Navy commanders in India, all of whom were saying they're ready to welcome back their pilot. But just to be clear, the Indian Armed Forces are going to remain in a state of readiness should India feel that its national security is in any way under threat.
OK, Sangeeta, thank you very much indeed. We watch and we wait for the moment in which that handover takes place. We'll bring it to you here, of course. Let's get you the very latest on our main story this hour. That's the tensions that have arisen between Pakistan and India over the disputed region of Kashmir. Now, the Indian pilot whose plane was shot down by Pakistan is due to be returned at the Wagah border crossing in, well, we're not quite sure when, but possibly within an hour or so. Our correspondent Rajini Vaidyanathan is there.
This is the Wagah border. It's one of the main crossings crossings from here in India to neighbouring Pakistan, and just in the distance behind me you can see an Indian flag, and not too far behind that a Pakistani flag. That's how close we are to Pakistan. Now, of course, in recent weeks tensions between the two neighbours have escalated, and today people have gathered here at the border in anticipation of the return of the Indian pilot who was captured by Pakistan earlier this week. His name is Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, and we expect that he will be returned back to the Indian authorities somewhere here in the next few hours. Now, in anticipation of that, there is a real sense of jubilation here. There are people who have travelled from across India to welcome home someone they say is a national hero. There's also dozens and dozens of members of the Indian media, and as you can see behind me, a huge security presence as well. Now, the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan will no doubt diffuse some of the tensions that have escalated between India and Pakistan. But some of the core tensions will not go away. For a start, India says it still wants Pakistan to deal with what it says are a number of terror training camps on Pakistani soil. And so the Indian government handed over a dossier yesterday to Pakistani officials. Now, Pakistan says it will review that dossier, but it has always maintained that it does not support these sort of terror training camps.
Rajini Vaidyanathan there down at the Wagah border crossing. The pilot, the wing commander, due to be returned pretty soon now, but the levels of alert remain high on both sides of the line of control. Many civilians have been forced to leave their homes, in fact, as Sumaila Jafri now reports from Muzaffarabad. That's the capital of Pakistani-administered Kashmir.
The mood in Muzaffarabad is slightly tense. Apparently, life looks normal, but like the rest of the country, the capital of Pakistani-administered Kashmir is also on the edge. I'm standing in front of a military checkpost. This is as far as we could come. We are not allowed to go beyond this point. This route has now been closed for any movement, but in the past 2-3 days since the Indian jets intruded Pakistani airspace, hundreds of villagers have been coming down from here. The government has established a temporary displacement center for these people, where 46 families have been reported so far. But I was also told that many people are going to their family homes rather than coming to the center. I met a few men, women and children at the center. The women told me that there is heavy shelling going on at the line of control, and they told me that how the villagers had to run for their lives, leaving behind their belongings and their cattle. And one of the women told me that everything has been shut down in the area, including schools and offices and businesses. She said only hospitals are open and they are on high alert. I've also spoken to the officials of local administration, who told me that the government is preparing for any eventuality, but they also hope that the situation will soon diffuse.
After days of heightened tension between Pakistan has released an Indian pilot whose plane was shot down on Wednesday. Well, Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman was handed back at the Wagah crossing. Pakistan described the move as a gesture of peace. Relations between India and Pakistan, two nuclear powers, have plummeted in the past week. On Tuesday, India carried out airstrikes on what it said was a militant camp in Pakistan. Well, the military action followed a suicide bombing that killed at least 40 Indian troops in Indian-administered Kashmir in February. India and Pakistan have fought 3 wars since 1947. All but one were over Kashmir. Rajini Vaidyanathan is on the India-Pakistan border and sent this report.
Returning to India as a national hero, Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman was welcomed home by crowds who'd gathered at India's border with Pakistan since the early morning.
Now, of course, this all comes off the back of a couple of weeks of high tensions between the nuclear neighbours India and Pakistan. And today there's been a real sense here of triumph and celebration and patriotism.
Wing Commander Varthaman was captured after the fighter jet he was flying was shot down earlier this week. Pakistan said he'd violated their airspace. India says it was responding after Pakistani warplanes entered its territory.
it's impossible to check the figures of knocked-out tanks.
For decades, there have been tensions between the two neighbours over the disputed area of Kashmir, which both claim in its entirety. This recent military escalation followed a suicide attack by a militant group based in Pakistan on the 14th of February. 40 Indian soldiers were killed in Indian-administered Kashmir. India accuses Pakistan of harbouring terror cells. Today, at a rally ahead of upcoming elections, the country's Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a tough stance. This is an India that will return the damage done by terrorists, he told the crowd. But for now, the nation's attention is focused on their newly returned pilot. Pakistan said he was released as a gesture of peace. These two nuclear powers may have walked back from the brink of war, but peace here remains fragile. Rajini Vaidyanathan, BBC News, Amritsar.
Well, before he was released, the pilot made a statement that was aired on television in Pakistan. Just to note, the BBC cannot verify that this interview was not done under duress.
My name is Wing Commander Abhinandan. I'm a pilot in the Indian Air Force. I was trying to find a target. Pakistan Air Force downed me. I had to eject my aircraft, which had broken up. As soon as I ejected and my parachute opened, I fell to the ground. I had a pistol with me. There were too many people, and I only had one option, which was to throw down my pistol. I tried to run. The people chased me. They were very impassioned. At that time, 2 soldiers from the Pakistan Army arrived there, and they saved me. They were captains of the Pakistan Army. They saved me from these people and from any harm.
Well, let's get more on this and speak to our correspondent in Delhi, Anbarasan Athirajan. Anbarasan, welcome to you. What's been the reaction there to these comments on Pakistan TV from the captured, now released Indian pilot?
People are a bit surprised and intrigued by this video appearing just minutes before he was allowed to cross the border crossing in the state of Punjab. Why he was made to give such a statement, which appeared to be heavily edited video statement, and what we also understand that it has dented the image of Pakistan trying to reach out to its long-time rival India by voluntarily giving up this captured pilot on Wednesday, and Prime Minister Imran Khan said it was a goodwill gesture for peace, and then they made such a video and then it was broadcast on Pakistan television. So people are questioning the motive and the timing of this video, because there were also previously some videos which appeared to show this captured pilot under the custody of Pakistani army, and once which showed he was bloodied and he was blindfolded. That was taken off the Pakistani websites hours later when it came under criticism. Even though Pakistan made this gesture of releasing this pilot, the timing of this video has raised lots of questions. However, back in India, he was given a hero's welcome when Wing Commander Abhinandan walked across this Wagah border. People across India, in many cities, people are bursting firecrackers and then holding religious ceremonies for his safe return. So finally, a sense of relief that the human face of this conflict, Wing Commander Abhinandan, has come back home.
Yeah, a sense of relief, but is the crisis now averted between the two countries, do you think?
For the moment, his release has reduced the tensions between the two countries, and it is very difficult to see how either India or Pakistan would take up this further because of any increasing tensions. So far, the world opinion has been with the probably Indian side, and they also appreciated the Pakistanis' offer of peace and goodwill gestures. But now the release of this pilot, many countries were involved behind the scenes. For example, the United States, Britain and China were putting pressure on Pakistan to release this pilot, and also urging India to show restraint. Now, after this goodwill gesture, if either of these countries are going to take up further escalation, that will not go down well with this international community. Yes, the tension has reduced, but the crisis is still far from over in Kashmir. For example, in today's clashes, 5 security personnel and 2 militants were killed. Shelling is going across the line of control that divides the Kashmir region. A couple of people were killed because of this shelling. So the two countries really need to sit together and talk a way out of this Kashmir crisis. Until that happens, that crisis will continue.
OK, and Barasan Atharajan in Delhi for now. Thank you.